Hello people, Misha Bjork here. Today we're making liquid drum and bass. I've come up with these chords that might work well. Obviously for liquid DnB we need this chunky break that's kind of not too harsh but also hits in the right spot. And I found this one. We're gonna try to make the pattern a little more interesting. Pretty simple bass. Maybe I'll change it later, but for now it kind of works. Obviously, there's no liquid drum and bass without the sweeping EQ. Let's make the bass more interesting. And now we're gonna make the vocals. Run And then I usually try to come up with like a totally different melody just in case that my first guess was like not optimal. And also it helps when you building up the verse, chorus, then you need a bridge, then you need a second chorus. So like it helps to create the variety because my first years of making music, especially when I started making it in English, which is not my mother tongue, whenever I would come up with the 4 bars that would sound okay and the lyrics were fine, I'd be so happy that I would just completely abuse it and put it all over my song. And that's why it made my song too repetitive. And you don't want to be too repetitive. I think that you need to give the listener this candy, let it be chorus. And then, like, if you just insert the same candy, it starts to become boring. So what I like to do is I like to make a second chorus, which I normally put after the first one, or I would even use the first one as the verse, and it makes like the double pleasure actually. And it's funny, like when I started doing this, I received the feedback of this guy commented like, "Yo, I've got shivers down my spine on 1 minute .06 on some song that I had," and I looked up this moment, and it was the exact moment where I decided to put like the second chorus after the first one, and I was like, "Yeah, damn, that works." So yeah, it's actually a pretty useful hack. Double the input, and you'll double the results. I make music for 5 years probably, and I just set up the timer for making the lyrics, which is always the hardest part for me. And I just made it in like 30 minutes, and I made like solid 8-bar chorus, which is basically like the double chorus. Man, I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better. What used to take hours now takes minutes. And also the quality is improving. Like I see with almost every song that I make that is just a little bit better because I'm trying to raise the bar every time. I think it's important in whatever field you're in, is you just try to raise a bar a little bit further, a little bit higher every time you make a song. That shit really excites me as hell. I used to make music in Russian. That's my mother tongue. And when I remember the moment when I switched from Russian to English because I figured out that no one really is interested in liquid drum and bass or UK garage in Russia. So I decided that the market is just too small for me to continue making it in Russian language. And I remember when I first made some demos in English and I was really excited about it. I came up to my friends and showed them the demos, and they were like, "Bro, you sound like a Russian trying to sing in English. Like you can hear your Russian accent." And that's such a weird thing to notice because I've never heard that any other nation would be so ashamed of their accent as Russians are. It's such a weird thing. Like, you know, when French people speak English or Italians speak English, it kind of adds that little cherry on top, you know, like that little thing that makes you different from everyone else. And that's a good thing, right? But in Russia, even when I was in school, we were taught to speak this British language. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. It's like this those exercises were just like so weird. They were trying to teach us this Oxford pronunciation, and it's just so funny like how we are ashamed of who we really are. Why, bro? Just embrace that. Use it to your advantage, right? Whatever. Let's get back to music. I ain't got no time for another hopeless fight. Set aside your actually not sure. I'm used to make two tracks of vocals. One is like my normal voice, the one that I'm speaking right now, and one is like the upper voice, which kind of gives it a little more crisp and kind of soothness. So I started with just my normal vocal in this track, and I thought that I'm gonna end up with just one vocal track, but like this is what it sounds like. I ain't got no time for another hopeless fight. Set aside your pride, 'cause I wanna share every piece with you. So yeah, it's really not hitting those notes. So that's why I sang it lower on this track, and then I added the top track, and this is what it sounds like. Would be interesting to know your opinion on that, because honestly, like, vocal is still the weakest part of my production, and I'm trying to get better at it every day. I think my ultimate goal is to be able to sing really clearly using only one track, but for now I feel like the double track thing still works better and it sounds better. So yeah, I'd be interested in what you guys think. Anyway, thank you all for watching. There's gonna be a series of videos where I make music and I talk about my way as an independent artist. I do everything myself. I produce, I sing, I mix, I master, I distribute myself, I make content, I make visuals, everything by myself. So yeah, and my ultimate goal for the next 6 months is to become a full-time musician, which means that I'm gonna be able to live off of my streaming, merch sales, and whatever other revenue stream that I might have. So if you guys are interested in that type of lifestyle, if you want to build a brand for yourself, if you want to work for yourself, you might be interested in that type of content. I'm gonna try to do 3 uploads a week, so it's almost a video every other day. I can't lie, it's gonna be hard, but I'm super motivated. I need to change my life right now because I feel like I have so much inside of me that I need to get out. I'm super grateful that I found music 5 years ago, and this is honestly such a gift that I wish every one of you would find this thing for yourself, that this one discipline that allows you to express yourself without any limitations. And it takes time. It takes courage, time, and trial and error, and willing to fail. Like, I failed so many times. I am 29 years old right now, and I started at 13 because I was always this curious child that wanted to explore and express himself. And I happened to start with graffiti. I picked up graffiti and it became my whole world for 10 years of my life. And I made so many friends. I traveled the world. It really helped me to express myself to some extent, but after 10 years of making it, I felt a little bit boxed in that subculture. And so I switched to graphic design, which is kind of obvious move, and then I switched to clothing design. And I spent a few years there without actually having any crazy success. During this whole time from 13 to like 24 years old, it was all about drawing for me. It was this feeling inside of me that I can be only good enough in drawing. It's probably a weird thing to say, having spent like more than 10 years doing it, but I always felt like this is not my superpower. And it's a very important thing to understand for yourself, because I was happy to pick up music at 25, by the way, which felt so embarrassing. I remember making my first beats And of course, it didn't happen. Like, there was no miracle. It was just usual amateur beats, you know? And I remember my father looking at me making beats at some family vacation or whatever and saying, like, what are you, a musician now? And man, I remember how that hit me hard. That was a hard thing to hear because I was constantly doubting myself without even needing my father to say that. And thank God I didn't give up at that time, because within 3 months of me learning the program, I found myself completely lost in the process of making music. Like, I could spend like 6 hours in Ableton just making my tracks, and the time wouldn't exist for me. And I think this is the best indicator for you to understand that you're doing your own thing, that you are gifted at. I didn't find that in drawing. I didn't find that in clothing design. And it took me years. It took me half of my 20s to figure out what is it that I want to do. And I'm so thankful for not settling down with what I don't like. I think that's the saddest shit. Yeah, just don't give up, bro. If you're watching this, if you haven't found your thing yet, I believe that we all have this one thing that we're incredibly gifted at. And it might not be music, it might not be art at all. It might be negotiating, it might be accounting. You know, there are some people that, like my mother, for example. My mother is so into numbers. She handles family budget all her life, and she's so incredibly good at it. And she knows exactly where each of her pennies go. You need to find that for yourself. Thank you for watching.